Well, good morning, folks. Hi, this is Larry Cedar. We're back for another session of Sqanning, Sqanning, the incremental release of muscular tension for the purpose of achieving a deep state of physical and mental calm. It is Monday morning, just before 10 o'clock in the morning. It is May 4th. And, we're back to using my camera phone because yesterday I tried using my webcam, and I was very excited about that. I thought we'd have better reception, but as it turns out, it just didn't work so great. So we're back to using the phone, much simpler, much better, much happier. I want to wish you all a good week, a happy Monday, as good as can be expected on a Monday. We're back here again to talk about the technique I call scanning. Again, that's Sqanning, and just to reinforce, that is the incremental release of muscular tension for purposes of achieving a deep state of physical and mental calm. So before we start, I just want to touch on something briefly, and that is the idea of tension. Most people think, well, when do I need to scan? I need to scan when I'm tense, when I'm uptight, when I'm nervous, when I've wound up, when I'm overthinking, and that makes sense. But there's a sneaky form of contraction or tension. And again, this is all about going from a state of contraction to a state of expansion. We'll touch on that. But there's a sneaky form of contraction which we encounter in our lives. And that's those times when you feel like, well, I don't really feel like doing any relaxation exercises because I'm just tired. I just don't really feel like doing anything. I just don't feel like thinking about anything. I don't feel like moving. I don't feel like trying. I just don't want to do anything. And that's called depression. It's a sort of flip side of hyperactivity, depression. They're kind of flip sides of the same coin. Because if tension is a closing off, a contraction of the musculature in the mind, depression is a closing off of the spirit. And it's sneaky because it doesn't feel like tension. It doesn't feel like anxiety. It doesn't feel like you're overthinking. If anything, it feels like you're coming into a state of nothing. And it's deceptive because we feel like, why should I try to relax when I'm not feeling tense? I'm not feeling hyperactive. I just feel like sitting on the couch and watching TV. But if you are depressed, and we've all encountered slight forms of depression, it is a contraction of sorts, because what you've done is you've closed off your soul. You literally have contracted in on yourself. You've pulled in. And the quickest test to see if you are indeed depressed is to go out and participate in some activity, be social, be with someone, talk to someone, talk about your feelings. Well, most people, if they're depressed, they'll say, no, I don't want to talk about anything. I don't want to do anything. I'm not tense, I'm not upset, I'm not tired, I just don't want to do anything. You are withdrawn. And there's a deception in terms of the concept of contraction and tension, in that it's only when we're tense, muscularly tense, agitated, tense, so we need to relax. But depression is a form of tension, you might say, in that, again, you are closing off, you are pulling in, you are drawing into yourself, you are, in fact, contracting. So be on the lookout for that, because there's been many times, and I get depressed just like anyone, there have been many times, because I practice this every day, 2-3 times a day, there have been many times where I just didn't feel like doing it. And it was either because I had that sort of external tension where I was like this, no, I don't want to relax, and I had to just finally relax. Or the sneaky kind where I was like, I just don't feel like it, okay? Just leave me alone, okay? No. No. That's a good key. If you're saying no a lot, there's chances are you are depressed. You have contracted on yourself, on your soul. And at times like that, this practice of expansion, of release, can be just as helpful as it is when you are in a muscularly tense situation. And you can't imagine why. Why would I want to sit here and just work on relaxing, expanding, releasing when I don't feel tense? I just feel depressed. Well, because depression is a form of contraction. So you're working on the same thing. You're solving the same problem. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that later, but I just wanted to touch on that because we're sneaky creatures and we avoid relaxation, release, and expansion when we are afraid, when we're anxious, when we're depressed, because to have to open up, to expand, as I've said many times, is to be vulnerable. And depression is a form of self-protection, pulling in on yourself, contracting, closing off. So just like muscular tension, I will call it spiritual tension, or depression is a form of self-protection. So if I come to you and I say, listen, I need you to open up, expand, relax, talk about your feelings, that sort of thing, you resist, almost like a muscular tension, but it's a spiritual tension. So when you feel, the key is always, when you feel resistance, and I've talked about this before, to this process, When you feel like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. Well, I say to you, just relax. No, I don't want to relax. And I say, open up. I don't want to open up. That is a resistance. And a resistance, that feeling of resistance is key. You should give yourself a prize when you feel resistance because you've come up against the problem. It's like you're a prospector looking for gold. Well, when you feel resistance, you have found the gold nugget. That's a victory. So just because it feels crummy and you don't want to push through that resistance, now's the time. Now's the time because you've struck gold. So just keep that in mind. Resistance is the key. Resistance is the door that needs to be opened to pass through into a state of openness, relaxation, expansion. Take resistance as a good sign, either muscular resistance or spiritual resistance. And that would be, as I said, depression, when you feel like you just want to close in on yourself. And again, the key test is, how do I know if I'm depressed? Because I just don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to open up. I'm closed off. I am contracted. So just be aware. That's all I wanted to touch on today. So let's start from scratch. Just something that came to my mind and I wanted to share with you. And if it applies, good morning, Nancy. If it applies, excellent. What we're trying to do, generally speaking, with scanning, with the incremental release of muscular tension, this expansion of sorts, is open ourselves up. Because being closed off, as I've described before, if this is us living and breathing and alive and moving and free-flowing and flexible. And if we start to close off, we become this. And if this is the world, all we can do with the world is this. And other people, other contracted beings, we just bounce off each other. So you want to get to where you are opened up again so that you can interact with the world. You can freely experience the world. You can not be so buffeted by the world. You can be at peace with yourself. So that's that. So let's get started. Those of you who have been here before, you know the technique. I've shown it to you. It's very simple. Those of you who are here for the first time, I welcome you. It is a very simple technique. You're going to learn it in 1 minute and you go away and practice it as much or as little as you like. I recommend practicing it frequently because the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so this technique, scanning, the incremental release of muscular tension, is built on the following foundation. And these ideas come from a man named Thaddeus Golas, Golas. He wrote the book, The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. I have practically memorized it. I love this book so much. But it's a basic concept. The whole book basically says that everything in the universe is either in a state of contraction, squeeze your hands together, or expansion, release. That's the fundamental premise of his book. I have taken the ideas from his book and I am sort of incorporating them into a physical process to help us on a physical level. That's all I've done. So again, everything in the universe is either contraction or expansion. Everything you see, feel, everyone you talk to, everything you read, every food you eat, every piece of clothing you put on you, every skyscraper we build is either in a state of contraction or expansion. Now, typically, we look around, and what are we surrounded by? Things. These are contractions, things we've built, we've put together. Ideas, thoughts are contractions. Okay? That's why we can get so tied up in our own thoughts. They are contractions. Eventually, they close in on themselves. Love, on the other hand, is an expansion. Love is an opening up. It's allowing ourselves to interact and be in convergence with others. So relaxation, peace, and happiness is an expansion. It's a willingness to accept what is. Whatever exists in the universe, that's expansion. So that's the broad concept. Now, let's take it to the physical level. On a physical level, we are made of flesh and bones. Muscles can either do one of two things, contract or expand. So the body is a metaphor for this universal force. So we too can be either in a state of contraction or a state of expansion or somewhere in between. Now what happens in life generally, as we exert ourselves, as we work, as we try to achieve, as we try to work things out in our minds, win arguments, elect presidents, build buildings, exercise, take drugs, all these things, we go back and forth on this spectrum of contraction, expansion. This technique, scanning, is designed to bring us out of a state of over-contraction because that's what tends to happen in life. We tend to become overly contracted. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is you look at your phone. You read the news, you check your mail. These are contractions. These are structures that are built to help us deal with life. All good, fantastic. Problem is we get overly contracted. We get tied up in our own ideas, our concepts, our arguments, our thoughts, our careers, our money, our food. We just get caught up in these processes of life, which all exist outside of ourself. So what begins to happen is we become overly contracted and we lock up. And then we're unhappy and unhealthy, can't think clearly, don't feel good. We're overly contracted. There's nothing wrong with contraction. This is the stuff of life. But what we need to do is to learn how to expand on demand so that we can save ourselves from this state of overcontraction. Ultimately, what you want in life is a balance. We need to contract. We need to expand. We want to be centered. So the process of scanning is a process of expansion. So let's get started. Again, the muscles can only contract or expand. So squeeze your hands together, contract, release. That's expansion. This is a physical process, scanning. There's no concepts or ideas other than the ones I've told you. Now we're moving into a physical experience. I don't want you to think about anything except how you're feeling from this point forward. Your mind will clear in and of itself when you involve yourselves deeply in the physical experiences you're having. So don't worry about your mind. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Release. That's expansion. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Release. That's expansion. What are we doing? We're building a heightened awareness of those two forces on a physical level. I'm asking you not to think about those two experiences. I'm asking you to feel them, to really tune into what it feels like to squeeze, contract, and what it feels like to expand, release. Feel the difference? Do it again. Contract, squeeze. What does that bring onto your body? What sort of feelings? I hold my breath a little bit when I contract. It takes effort. If I kept doing it for a while, I'd probably build up a sweat. You're welcome, Paul. I have to concentrate, so I can't really relax. That's contraction. I am accomplishing something, so there's nothing really terrible about contraction. If this was an exercise, I'd be building muscles. That's a contraction. That's useful. But that's how it feels. So think about how it feels. Really feel that. That's contraction. Now release completely. 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. That's expansion. How did that feel in contrast to contraction? Think about it. No, I'm sorry, don't think about it. Feel it. Tune into your body. What just happened? You completely let loose of all muscular exertion. You feel freer to breathe. Take a deep breath. You're not having to work. You can just sit in your chair a little more comfortably. There's no place you have to go. There's nothing you need to do. So that's what expansion feels like. It's subtle. But what you need to do in the process of scanning is heighten your awareness of these two sensations so that we may proceed to incrementally, we're doing this in small steps, release the muscular tension in our body, starting with the hands and moving through the entire body until we will have achieved a deep state of physical and mental calm. Because as you send these signals to your body that we are moving into a state of expansion, and we do that through the incremental release of muscular tension, we're sending our body a signal. You are the conductor. The body is the orchestra. You are conducting the orchestra, and you are saying, here's the direction we're moving, orchestra. This is going to be a slow, calm concerto. So by sending your body those signals incrementally, step by step, paying attention to what it feels like to relax, to release, to expand, you're gently moving yourself into a state of expansion. And it may be subtle at first. It might just be the slightest bit of relaxation. But if you're aware of it, if you're paying attention, you'll begin to notice that it starts to spread through your body. And the analogy I always use is if you were to take a drop of dark blue food coloring and just plop one drop into a glass of clear water, that drop would hit the water and then slowly spread and dissipate until the entire glass had a light tint of blue. That's what we're doing with this release. When I say release, let that sense of release pass through your body. So squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release just spread into your chest, your arms, your neck, your back, your pelvis, your legs, your feet, your face, the top of your head. Deep breath. So again, I said the hands are a metaphor for the entire body, the entire universe, contraction, expansion. Well, guess what? Deep breaths are another excellent metaphor for expansion. What are you doing when you take a deep breath? Expanding. So as you begin to feel these impulses to take a deep breath, take that breath. Your body is sending you a message now. You're sending your body a message. Your body is answering. I say 3, 2, 1, release. I say to the body, release. The body says, thank you, I will. And by the way, here's some oxygen. Now, you've begun communicating with your body. You're no longer fighting your body. You are working in sync, in conjunction with your body. Because your body and you, both of you know that this instinctively is good for you. So now you've got the ball rolling. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. Now, it's very important. We've moved about 3 or 4 steps into this process. It's very important now that you sit silently and quietly for 15 seconds and really register the changes that are occurring in your body. Deep breath. It's very important at this point that you note how far have you moved yourself on the dial. If you were, and give yourself a number on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10, have you moved to a 9, an 8, a 7? Perhaps you've gone all the way to a 4. But it's important at this point that you note, register, confirm, affirm the progress you've made, no matter how subtle, no matter how slight. How much have you incrementally released the musculature of your body? Do you feel it? Is your heart beating more freely? Are you sitting more comfortably in your chair? Are you aware of sensations in areas of your body that you had cut yourself off from? Do you feel suddenly your face? Are you much more aware of your chest, the skin on your legs, your feet? You've begun to expand. And I like to say that if someone was to ask you, well, how'd your scanning session go? And you start to describe it, they say, well, don't complicate it for me. Just tell me in 4 words, what is scanning? Just say to them, be still, be silent. That's the simplest form of scanning. That is scanning distilled down to its bare essentials. All of this contraction, expansion, all of this discussion is just a means to an end. The end goal being a place where you can be sitting still and silent and at peace with yourself. Breathing freely, relaxed. So we started about 5 to 10. It is 10:15. We've been doing it approximately 20 minutes. And I will tell you for myself, because I do this for myself, and I share it with you in the hopes it will help you. I will say that for myself, I have perhaps moved myself from a 10, I was definitely a 10 this morning, to a 6. I'm not saying that to boast. Look at me, look how far I got. I wish I was a 0 or a 1. I'm saying that because I'm noting my progress. I'm noting those changes. And I do this every day, 2, 3 times a day. I've done it for thousands of hours for many years. I always start not knowing what the hell I'm doing, why I'm doing it, not wanting to do it, not even sure where it's going. Because my body, over the course of the day or the night, because dreams can get you wound up, has pulled itself into such a state of contraction that I've literally forgotten what this does for me. But I've practiced it enough, I'm disciplined enough to know now that I should practice it and that it will take me into a place of release and relaxation, but I'm always resistant. But as I said at the very beginning of this session, take resistance as a signpost. You're heading in the right direction. If you feel resistance, either from hyperactivity and tension or depression and withdrawn state of being, resistance, you are heading in the right direction and you should proceed. So let's do it again. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. Now sit in stillness and quiet and register those changes. Now, what's the difference between sitting in stillness and silence in an expanded state and sitting in stillness and silence in a depressed state, which I talked about at the very beginning of this. Depression being another form of contraction, pulling in on yourself, closing in, closing off. The difference in those states is a depressed person sitting in stillness and silence is in a state of no. If someone says, "Can I talk to you?" No. Would you get on the phone with so-and-so? They'd like to speak with you. No. You're still, you're silent, but you are contracted. On the other side, if you are still and silent yet expanded, and someone comes to you with an idea, would you like to speak to so-and-so? Why not? Can I ask you how you're feeling? Sure, I'd love to tell you. You're not threatened, you're not closed off, you're opened, you're expanded. So again, be wary of the sensations of depression, because they are a form of contraction as much as muscular tension is a form of contraction. It's the flip side of the same coin. I'm just saying that by way of motivation, because you're going to feel, like I do, I'm sure, resistance to this practice. Because this practice of scanning, this incremental release of muscular tension, is asking you to let go, to release, to open up, to drop your guard, to expand. And it always feels threatening. Instinctively, physically, and this is a physical process, the letting down of our guard, emotionally, physically, is frightening. We protect ourselves, we close off physically and emotionally to protect our emotions and our body. That's a good natural instinct, but we go too far and we end up harming ourselves. So the process of expansion, of opening up, releasing, is healthy, but can be frightening initially. I'm just saying, by way of warning, be prepared. Feelings of resistance, like I said, that's a signpost that says, proceed as planned. You're on the right track. Let's do it again. And then we're going to get into some more specifics, because the whole idea is to gently, incrementally nudge yourself into this state of incremental muscular release. As you start to feel that, as it begins to sweep into your body, as you begin to make progress, as the truck begins to turn around and head down that road, now you can really get down to the nitty-gritty of exploring your body, the different areas of your body with your mind, and finding what pockets of tension you can just release of your own design. It's fantastic, the control you have over your body. So squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. You've just released the tension in your body another 1%, just like that. So sit, experience it, register it. And now we're going to get into specifics. And I'm telling you this not necessarily because it's time for you. You will have your own schedule. Your body will go to this place as it sees fit. We're all different. We're similar in our humanity and our basic makeup, but each of us has a different kind of time frame. But as you begin to feel yourself moving into a complete body relaxation, you can begin to explore with your mind your body. You can say, I want to look at my face now. What kind of tension am I holding in my face? And on my count, I'm going to release 1% of that tension. 3, 2, 1, release. I'll bet you didn't even know you were holding tension in your face. This is what's amazing, is we are masters of deception. On any given moment, you will think that you are not tense, you are not holding tension, but if you just make that slight effort to release, you'll be surprised at how much tension you carry with you throughout the day and night. The face, 3, 2, 1, release. The jaw slackens, the brows unfurrow, the eyes soften. Top of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Back of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. The neck, 3, 2, 1, release. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, release. And don't be surprised if when you release your shoulders, you also feel a simultaneous release in the legs and feet. The body is in sympathy with itself. If it feels there's a party going on in quadrant A, quadrant B wants to join in. The body wants to become in sync. It wants to be a whole. It doesn't want to be separate. So if there's relaxation going on here, chances are you may feel it down there. So just be aware of that. Be prepared for that. The chest into the stomach and waist. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. The back down into the back of the waist and the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. The legs down into the feet, very important. A lot of nerve endings in the feet. 3, 2, 1, release. Now the entire body. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. So this is a slightly more advanced form of the process, which I call cycling through. I've divided it into the zones I just mentioned: the face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders, the front of the body, the back, into the pelvis, the legs, and the feet. You can divide it up as you see fit. But if you're lying in bed at night and you can't sleep, begin to cycle through these areas. Go to your face, release. Go to your top of your head, release. It's important that you feel it. It could be the slightest amount of release, but register it, feel it, acknowledge it. Neck, shoulders, front, back, pelvis, feet, and just keep repeating it, nudging yourself into a state of incremental muscular release. And lo and behold, you will discover, typically about 10 minutes in, that your body is starting to give way. It's getting with the program. It's beginning to understand what the goal is, and it's beginning to let go. And it's at that point that I recommend you sit for as long as you like, in stillness and in quiet, and just study those feelings of release. Indulge yourself in them. You deserve it. And so what do you feel when you're sitting in stillness and nothingness? Well, I'll tell you what I feel. I feel as though I have far less compulsion to go anywhere, to do anything, to think anything. I feel as though I can just be. How many times a day do you get to experience that? It's as if you had some monumental task you had to perform. Let's say you had to, oh gosh, name any one of them. Let's say you had to take a test. You were in college and you were about to take the test. You sat down, you had your pencil, and you were all wound up, and you've been studying for months, and someone said, you know what, folks, the computer is broken, test is canceled. It's that feeling. Really? I don't have to do anything for the next 24 hours? I can just sit here and do nothing? I'm not being tested? I'm not being asked to do anything? I can just be? Wow, what a relief. Imagine an existence on earth with no obligation. Imagine an existence on earth with nothing you had to do, nowhere you had to go, nothing you had to say, no thought you had to process. Imagine that sense of freedom. Now, obviously, we can't live like that. We have places we got to go. We got things we got to do. But imagine giving yourself 2 minutes of that sensation. You're entitled. We're all entitled to 2 minutes of nothingness. Give yourself that experience. Give yourself that moment. Give yourself those 2 minutes, or half an hour if you can spare it, or hour. Give yourself that. Why do you think people pay thousands of dollars to go to Hawaii? So they can sit on a beach or by a pool and do absolutely nothing. They travel thousands of miles and pay thousands of dollars so that they can set up an environment in which they feel entitled to do absolutely nothing. Look what it takes to take that pressure off ourselves. That you could do it right now, like this. You could take that pressure off yourself right now. You just got to get your body to get on board with you, because intellectually we go, that's right, I should do that, but I can. I'm thinking, and I'm my body. Okay, how about this? How about we scan? How about we incrementally release the muscular tension and we nudge our body into that state, gently, slowly, gradually, until the body begins to understand that it is safe and it's okay to just be. Take a deep breath. Pressure's off. I can be still and silent and nothing. And it's going to be okay. That's amazing. You did that to yourself. You have the power within yourself to create that state of being. Didn't cost you a dime. Didn't have to go see anybody. Didn't have to do anything. Didn't have to write a check. didn't have to drink some booze, didn't have to smoke a joint, or as I like to say, didn't have to eat a whole chocolate cake. You made yourself feel good. Personally, when I discovered that I had that ability within me to do that, it was so empowering. Because no matter where I went, no matter where I was, no matter what I was doing, I could take 5 minutes and through the process of incremental muscular release, because that's all this is. It's a trick. This is a trick. You are tricking your body into relaxing. You are gently coaxing your body into a state of relaxation by gently convincing it that it's safe, it's okay. Let's just go there, bit by bit. When I discovered I had the ability to do that, it was incredibly empowering. I didn't have to call a psychiatrist. I didn't have to go to a chiropractor. I didn't have to go to Hawaii. I didn't have to drink a beer. I didn't have to smoke a joint. I had that power within me to calm myself, to let go of all the things pulling me out of myself into the outside world, making me feel weaker, less sufficient because I needed all those things. I had the power to cut all those things loose for 5 minutes and just relax. Incredible. And that's all this is. All I'm doing is sharing with you what I discovered for myself, that I believe you can discover in yourself. I believe we all have the power within us to do this. And all I'm doing is saying to you, hey, check this out. Did you realize you had this ability? You have a superpower. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is you've got this power too. We all do. Everybody's got it. We're all the same. And it's incredible. And it's kind of a secret. But maybe it's not a secret. Maybe we all instinctively know it, but we're just afraid to do it because we have to let go. We have to be vulnerable. We have to release. And so we're find excuses not to do it. Maybe we all secretly know it. And I'm just saying, hey, remember? That's all we're doing. All we're doing is incrementally releasing the muscular tension in our body. And what that does, it allows our body to release, to relax, to expand, to feel less threatened, to feel calm, to feel centered, to feel at peace, to feel comfortable in the moment, which in turn calms the mind. Everything is attached in the body. Everything is attached. When something happens to your toe, your ear feels it. Everything is attached. You can't separate out the body. When your body, your muscles begin to relax, your mind, which is a muscle of sorts, it's flesh and materials, it has blood circulating through it. When the mind senses that there is relaxation going on in the house, it begins to get on board and goes, oh, because what is thought? Just like muscles contract, the brain contracts. That's why we wake up in the morning sometimes, really kind of not feeling good. We've had a ton of dreams. That's our mind working overtime to try to sort out our day, sort out our past, sort out our future. It's been forming all kinds of contractions. You are completely contracted. You've been sleeping, but your mind's been working overtime. And we wake up feeling in a terrible state. Why? Because the mind is contracted in the middle of the night. You can't necessarily control that process. But if you incrementally release the muscles of your body and induce this deep state of physical calm, the brain experiences that. And it begins to go, I don't need to be working so hard. I too can let go and release. I don't have to be thinking so hard. And what inevitably happens to me, and again, I do this process for me, and I share it with you. So I will tell you what's going on for me. As I begin to physically relax, my mind suddenly becomes still. And I find myself not obsessively thinking about all the things I was thinking about. It's sort of amazing. And I say it's amazing because this is a discovery for me. I discovered this almost by accident. I went to a chiropractor who told me the best way to heal any injured part of your body is to relax. That's where it all started. And he did. He healed a torn muscle by inducing a deep state of relaxation at his office. I never forgot that. So I started practicing it. Stay well, Gary. Good to hear from you. And then I referenced this book by Thaddeus Golas, The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, which talked about the entire universe being all about contraction or expansion. I said, that fits. Relaxation is expansion. And that's how this all came about. And the more I do it, the more I discover the benefits of it. I get more excited about it every day. I've been doing it for years. It's astounding that it never gets old. I'm just astounded. So, I think we've done enough for today. It's been a half an hour. I try not to go over half an hour because I can be a bit of a windbag. I get very excited about this process. I just think it's amazing. Mostly because of its simplicity. I'm most amazed by this process because it's just so simple. It doesn't require you read a book. It doesn't require you to get in your car and drive to some exercise studio or yoga studio. Nothing against yoga. It's fantastic if you have the time and the money. It's a technique which can be practiced anywhere, anytime. It's absolutely free. It can be learned in a minute. It can be talked about for eternity, as far as I'm concerned. I find it fascinating. And it not only relaxes your body, but it calms your mind. So I'll be here every day doing a live session. It's Sqanning, Sqanning, the incremental release of muscular tension to induce a deep state of physical and mental calm. And we do that by using the hands as a metaphor for the entire body, the mind, the universe. Contraction, expansion. Squeeze our hands together. And on my count, 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And then study and encourage those feelings of release. Let it spread through your body like a drop of blue dye in a glass of clear water. You're welcome, Janet. Thanks for visiting. And again, in its simplest form, Sqanning is sitting still and being quiet. So if you've got no time and you can't remember what I did other than stillness and quiet, just sit and be still and quiet for 5 minutes and see what it does for you. It's amazing. Being still, being quiet forces you to cut yourself off from all the external involvements which you've reached out to grab to make yourself feel better. Stillness and quiet removes you from all those things and puts you back in yourself. So at minimum, 5 minutes. Be still, be quiet. See what happens. That's all for today, folks. I may come back later in the afternoon. I will repost this session immediately on my personal Facebook page, Larry Cedar, Cedar. This is where we're live streaming. And then I will also post a copy on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. Look it up. I would appreciate your following. All in the breath, my friend. Yes, Gary, good to hear from you. I would appreciate your following, liking and following that page, because when I get enough followers, I'm going to start doing the live sessions just there, just on the Sqanning page. Until then, be well, my friends. Be still, be quiet, breathe, love yourself. We're all we've got. We deserve to feel good at least 5 minutes a day. If you can open yourself up and expand, you will have a richer life. You will have a calmer life. You will see things more clearly. You will be more physically prepared to deal with the challenges you face every day. So I recommend you do. All right, thanks. Take care, everybody. And again, this will be reposted right now on Facebook. And oh, great. Paul, good to see you. I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm very happy about that. Good. Reposting and perhaps back in the afternoon or tonight. We'll see, but definitely tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.